Happy Leo full moon. Welcome back to the Aquarius podcast where we explore astrology with emotional intelligence. Today, we're diving into a powerful Leo full moon at the Aries degree. That's a lot of fire. By the end of this podcast, you'll have some emotional regulation tools that you can use to transform this transit into a moment of emotional courage. I want you to own this moment. It is a beautiful opportunity for clarity and for owning your authentic voice and identity. This transit is going to light up your desire to shine, to be seen, and to express yourself authentically. But there's a twist. This full moon in Leo is opposite a heavy Aquarius stellium. We will also be having the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Pluto, and Mars all in Aquarius. Those are all placements that will be in opposition to the full moon in Leo, creating a tension between your personal desires for the spotlight, for recognition, and your connection to the collective and to your ideals. One more thing that's making this even more interesting is that Chiron, Neptune, and the vertex in Aries are going to be trine the moon. So we have a very potent mix here of courage, inspiration, a desire to overcome old wounds and step into our fate, our dream, and to really embrace emotional healing as the path forward. So in this episode, we're going to unpack the emotional landscape of this transit. I'm going to talk about the triggers, the emotional drivers, the mindset shifts, the relational dynamics that are at play here. We're going to explore how to recognize reactive patterns and consciously navigate challenges. That includes integrating heart-centered expression with vision. It's about collective thinking. First, let's get into the emotional landscape of this Leo full moon. This full moon in Leo is bringing a surge of desires to the surface. There is a desire to shine, to be acknowledged, to express your authentic self. Leo rules the heart in astrology. So emotions are intense, dramatic, and heart-led. There's a strong pull towards being creative and wanting to be visible. In opposition, though, the Aquarius stellium amplifies this tension between our ego, our individual ego, which is both Leo and Aries energy, and our collective innovation, which is Aquarian energy. It's also pulling at our need for detachment in order for us to be able to manifest our dreams. Some emotional triggers that you may notice during this time are frustrations when your personal needs clash with what other people want from you, a desire for recognition, but also feeling afraid of people judging you or people rejecting you. There's some tension here between wanting to be impulsive, wanting to have fun, wanting to, grab life by the horns the way Leo does, big, bold, bright, and also wanting to be rational, wanting to be socially conscious, wanting to be socially aware, which is all in this Aquarius stellium energy. Others may challenge your perspective, your belief system, your vision. People might question your approach. Your relationships could get either exhilarating, fun, or they could get destabilized during this time, particularly if personal expression threatens the stability that's already been established in that group that you're a part of. This Leo full moon is asking us to learn how to assert ourselves authentically without pushing other people away. It's about learning how to balance our definition of personal fulfillment with our collective responsibility towards each other as brothers and sisters on earth. The emotional learning curve here is to notice when you're acting out of fear of erasure. That's a big fear for Aquarius. Like the fear of selling out is huge for Aquarius. The fear of not being themselves authentically. So it's about noticing when you're doing things out of that fear of losing yourself, and when you're doing things out of fear of not being seen and not being recognized, and that's very Leo. So we're being asked to find balance between both those things, okay? The awareness prompts here are, what am I resisting in myself that wants to shine? Where am I projecting desire for approval onto other people when I could simply approve of myself? Am I prioritizing collective ideals over my own emotional needs or vice versa? The problem with Aquarius is they can sometimes get lost in the fight for other people's rights and they don't fight for themselves. They forget to fight for themselves and their stability and what they want and what makes them feel glorified. And the problem with Leo is that they can get so wrapped up in fighting to put on a good show for others, to perform perform for others, to get others' validation, that they forget to ask themselves if others are returning the same energy to them. When we're talking about manifestation, it's about balance. Now, let's get into some of the aspects associated with this Leo full moon that are going to bring about some emotional and cognitive triggers, okay? The first thing I want you to be aware of is that emotions are going to be amplified, okay? Because Leo rules the heart. Leo is very emotional, although they deny it, but you can certainly see it in the way they behave. Everything Leo does is big, it's bold, it's dramatic. So there's going to be some tension between self-expression and what other people in your groups that you're a part of may desire from you or may provoke from you, okay? So don't be surprised if insecurities get provoked. Frustrations get provoked. Fear of rejection get provoked. All of that is about this tension between the self and the collective. If you have a desire for leadership or a talent for creative leadership, for thinking outside the box, for innovation, for emotional diplomacy, you may discover that the thing that actually makes you weird is the thing that inspires other people to be more themselves. And that is good for our collective progress, because the more we can embrace our weirdness, then the less insecure all of us feel as a whole, and the less interested we are in trying to make other people be like us. The only people interested in making other people like them are people that are not secure in who they are. So recognize reactive patterns of people pleasing or overcompensating because you're trying to get something out of people. The goal is to keep choosing ourselves, keep choosing truth without getting defensive, okay? So ask yourself, how can I integrate my need for recognition with my commitment to my community, collective ideals, with my commitment to my social views? What does my emotional response reveal about my balance, or lack thereof, between my mind and my heart? Aquarius is considered the smartest zodiac sign because they're highly intellectual. So Aquarius has the head, but Leo has the heart. You don't want to trust anyone who does not function out of both at the same time. A person that does just heart and no head is not safe, and a person that does just intelligence and no heart is also not safe. The trine from Moon to Chiron, Neptune, and Vertex in Aries is providing some courage, also some intuition, for stepping into our personal authenticity. The emotional pain that we've had to endure to be at this point in our lives has defined who we are in positive ways, in ways that have brought us in alignment with our dreams. So it's time for us to really amplify the truth of those emotional complications. It's okay for us to embrace that complexity with authenticity. This Leo full moon is also offering an opportunity for healing our identity wound and our wound of courage. Embracing inspiration and encountering transformation is definitely in the cards. There are going to be fated events that happen that basically nudge us forward in terms of stepping into our true authentic power. Notice tendencies towards being a martyr, as well as tendencies towards being delusional, just being perfectly happy lying to yourself about who and what you are. The goal is to be aware and to choose actions with clarity and courage. So ask yourself, where am I resisting my own potential? How can I transform my past insecurities and past wounds into empowered action? The Aquarius stellium transit is heightening our need for authenticity, for individuality, and our desire for social change. This energy here is about social impact. Aquarius is cool, emotionally detached, but deeply intense, just like Leo. It's just that instead of acting it out, Aquarius thinks it through, okay? So this is going to intensify this inner conflict between Leo moon's warmth and Aquarius being cold and detached. This heavy Aquarius stellium energy is supporting visionary thinking, big picture thinking, innovation. We're thinking about things differently for the first time. We're coming up with creative solutions. We're identifying strategic relationships that can assist us with navigating our dreams. It's about transforming leadership from the standard way that it looks into something that feels raw, real, grounded, not only in a personal sense of like courage and confidence, but also in values around uplifting other people and making other people feel strong, brave, and seen and valued, because we all are. One of the things we want to be mindful of, and this is something I'll be the first to admit that I struggle with as an Aquarius rising, is to avoid intellectualizing emotions to the point of being emotionally disconnected. Okay. Aquarius can sometimes use analytical strengths to suppress their actual feelings. This is why I'm so glad whenever I get choked up or I'm having an emotional experience while I'm communicating, because this is actually what Aquarius is here to work through, to learn to use their intelligence to support their emotional needs, not suppress them, use their intelligence to bring themselves emotional clarity. And in doing so, giving other people permission to both think and feel at the same time. Okay. So ask yourself, how can I balance logic and feelings in the choices that I'm making with my life right now? Where am I using my intellect to avoid emotional risk or to avoid being seen? Aquarius really struggles with visibility. Aquarius does not really like a lot of eyes on them. Leo, on the other end, is the opposite of that. Leo enjoys making eye contact and being the life of the party. So it's really about finding balance between both of those realities. Okay. Can you create a system that allows you to be visible in a way that supports your self-esteem without overdoing it? And when you are being visible, can you advocate for those that do not have the chance to be as visible as you in that moment? That's really what it's about. This transit is inviting a dialogue between our heart and our mind, between wanting to be recognized for our uniqueness and being responsible for the collective. It's about both courage and idealism. We don't all have to look alike. We don't all have to speak the same. We don't all have to believe the same, but we have to love and respect each other. That's why we came. We came to learn how to love and respect each other and how to be kind and how to not harm each other. Emotional intelligence here means noticing when you're resisting visibility, when you're over-indexing on being shy, when really underneath that is a fear of failure, or when you're projecting your desires onto others. As an example, maybe you have a desire to be seen. Instead of being in front of the camera, you spend a lot of time watching other people. Maybe it's time to turn the camera around and allow yourself to be seen. So we want to consciously integrate Leo Moon's energy into authentic self-expression with the Aquarian energy of rational, progressive vision. The Aries trine energy with Chiron, Neptune, and Vertex are acting as a catalyst for personal courage, for healing old wounds, for inspiration, for transformation. It's a huge opportunity to align your emotional bravery with your higher sense of purpose in the world. You're here for a special purpose, and that purpose requires you to love yourself, be confident in yourself, believe in yourself, and allow yourself to be celebrated by others. Now let's move on to some affirmations for each rising sign based on which house you have Leo in, okay? If you're Aries rising, most likely you have Leo in your 5th house. The 5th house has a deep fear of being rejected or judged when Leo's there. So your authentic self-expression also makes you feel afraid. The affirmation here is, I claim my creative power and express my joy unapologetically, okay? They can feel however they want to feel. That's okay. You have the right to be joyful. Moving on to Taurus rising, for you, this is the 4th house. Leo in the 4th house has a fear of instability, of losing their home, of being abandoned, of not being emotionally safe at home, of being rejected by their family. The affirmation is, I honor my roots while also creating a safe and nurturing home for my authentic self. Okay? Just because you're related does not mean that you need their validation to exist. You exist outside of your family system, okay? Gemini rising, typically Leo for you falls in the 3rd house. Leo in the 3rd house has a fear of speaking their truth, of saying the wrong thing, of being judged or being misunderstood. Your affirmation is, I speak my truth with clarity and courage without any fear of judgment. Sometimes we have to do it scared, Gemini. It's okay. You can feel the feelings, you can feel your heart racing, but do it anyways, because a lot of your confidence comes from your throat chakra. So you don't want to suppress your voice, okay? Cancer rising, for you, Leo energy generally falls in the 2nd house, which is the house of self-esteem and money. Leo in the second house has a fear of not having enough money, not having enough love, not having enough self-worth, or not being valued in other people's eyes, basically feeling worthless based on other people's judgments of them. Your affirmation, Cancer rising, is I recognize my true worth and allow my values to guide my choices. Because who the hell are they anyways? Why do we care what they think? Okay? It's about what you think, who you are, and what you feel about yourself. Moving on to Leo rising. Leo, for you, this is in the first house. Leo rising, despite how confident they come across, and I love Leo rising energy so much. It feels like a taste of sunshine. But in spite of all this energy that come with, Leo rising has a fear of being invisible and of being powerless and of not being fully accepted for who they are. So the affirmation for you is, I shine as my authentic self and embrace my power, my personal power fully, okay? You are the sun. Let the sun shine. Moving on to Virgo rising. Virgo rising for you, Leo energy falls in the 12th house. Virgo rising typically have a fear of inner chaos, a fear of being unworthy, a fear of confronting their shadows, a fear of seeing aspects of themselves that are not so polished, okay? The affirmation here is, I release hidden fears and embrace the wisdom of my inner world. Your inner world does not need to be perfect in order for you to be worthy of love. You are worthy because you are. That's it. Okay? And that goes for everybody. All right? Libra rising for you, this falls in the 11th house. When Leo falls in the 11th house, there's a fear of social rejection. Libra rising have a fear of not fitting in, of not being accepted, not being approved of, or not being supported by their community. Basically being shunned in one way or another, or neglected by their community. The affirmation is, I align with community that support and celebrate my true identity, okay? Because you're cool as you are. You don't need to be anything other than who you are in order for you to have community. If you're in community with people who need you to be something else, then that's not your community. Get inside other circles where people like you simply for existing. Moving on to Scorpio rising. For you, this typically falls in the 10th house. Leo in the 10th house has a fear of public failure. This is why they don't like to be seen in public spaces while being vulnerable. They have a fear of being criticized when they're in public, or of not being respected in their career, in their life path, in their presentation, in their public impact. The affirmation is, I step into my public role with confidence, integrity, and authenticity. Because it was never about them, Scorpio rising. It was always about you and what you want to do with this space that you're holding. Okay? Moving on to Sagittarius rising. Sagittarius rising, typically Leo energy falls in the 9th house for you. There's a fear with Sagittarius rising of being wrong, a fear of being limited, being trapped, feeling caged in, being unable to express your belief systems or your philosophy, feeling like you need to hide what you believe from other people. The affirmation is, I honor my beliefs and allow my heart and my mind to grow together. You don't have to know a thing for sure, Sagittarius rising, in order for you to vibe with it. Vibe with it as long as it no longer agrees with you. And when it doesn't, let it go and vibe with something else. Just because you're experiencing something doesn't mean you have to marry it. You don't need to be attached to every belief that you have. Some of them are for periods of time and then we move on, okay? So just give yourself room to grow. Capricorn rising, for you this falls in the 8th house. Capricorn rising typically has a fear of losing everything and everyone. They have a fear of being vulnerable, of their sensitivity being exploited, of being controlled in relationships, intimate relationships like marriage. There's a fear here of getting too close to people when Leo is in the 8th house, just basically losing power by seeking partnership, by seeking marriage, usually. So the affirmation is, I face deep truths with courage and welcome transformation in all forms. Capricorn rising, you're there to learn how to be vulnerable. The thing you're afraid of, that's the thing you're there to work on. You're there to learn how to explore the depths of your waters. It's not about guarding the waters, but rather exploring it. You want to know where all the pieces are inside of the waters. And the more focused you are on that, the less you will be doing things out of fear and insecurity. Okay? Aquarius rising, for you, this falls in the 7th house. Leo in the 7th house has a fear of conflict, a fear of abandonment in relationship, or a fear of being in partnerships that don't feel equal. The affirmation for you, Aquarius rising, is I cultivate partnerships that reflect mutual respect, honesty, and mutual growth. If you're in relationship with people who are not honest with you or that you can be honest with, people who are not helping you grow and people who are not respectful, then it's not much of a partnership. Partnerships require stability. You don't have to be afraid of conflict, because if that partnership is for you, conflict is not going to break it. It's going to make it better. Okay? Conflict is how we strengthen bonds. It's nothing to be afraid of. And if a person abandons you because of conflict, then clearly that was a sign that relationship was not balanced. Okay? Now, finishing strongly here with Pisces rising. Pisces, for you, this falls in the 6th house. When Leo falls in the 6th house, there's a fear of not being competent. There's a fear of overworking, not having good work-life balance, and not being able to maintain your personal health because you're devoting all of your time to work. The affirmation here is I structure my daily life in alignment with my emotional and physical well-being. Well, Pisces, you're here to learn how to take care of yourself, okay? And how to balance work and life, and how to put all of this compassionate, loving energy that you have into yourself. Work is never going to give you that which you're seeking, which is really inner peace and inner stability. And the only way to obtain that is to practice self-care. So how are we going to work this Leo full moon? I'm going to give you a quadrant with 4 parts to manage this Leo full moon and get the most out of it. In the first part, we're going to shift our mindset. I'll be telling you how in a little bit. The second part is about emotional regulation. The third part is regarding relational awareness, so we can improve our relationships. And lastly, some self-reflection prompts, so we can identify our patterns and our emotional triggers. Starting off with our mindset shift, the Leo full moon is illuminating issues around being authentic, speaking your mind, being seen, and owning your power. So naturally, it's going to expose our fears of judgment, areas where we're faking it, or fears of rejection, or fears of inadequacy. A conscious mindset shift is crucial to transform intensity into clarity and growth. So ask yourself, what part of myself am I afraid to show the world? How can revealing that part enhance my confidence rather than diminish it? Another prompt, how can the situation that I'm going through right now be a mirror for me to practice courage and self-validation? And lastly, where have I been seeking external validation instead of trusting my internal guidance? And how can I reclaim my inner authority? Reframing these problems, and I put that in quotation marks, because they're really opportunities to develop strength, confidence, authenticity, embrace our uniqueness. So reframing those problems encourages the Leo full moon's emotional surge, because it's an opportunity to refine self-expression, to embrace authenticity, and strengthen our resilience, rather than seeing these problems as a threat to our ego or a threat to our comfort. Here are 4 emotional regulation tools that you can utilize to notice your feelings, name them, navigate them without being overwhelmed. It's simple. First is breath work. Breathing is always one of the fastest ways to calm your body. Try a 4-7-8 pattern. Basically, inhale 4 counts, hold your breath for 7 counts, and exhale 8 counts. This is my favorite breath work method, and it's been scientifically proven to be highly effective. Repeat this 5 to 7 rounds, and you'll notice your body will be feeling so much better. It calms the nervous system very quickly, especially when you're feeling scared of speaking up or being visible, taking space. Sometimes you just need to breathe. It's going to be okay. Second way of reclaiming your emotional authority is journaling. Journaling offers a stream of consciousness. Writing on prompts such as, what am I feeling right now? What story am I telling myself about this feeling? What can I do with this feeling right now. Journaling allows you to notice patterns, notice projections, notice feelings you're avoiding, notice shame. Journaling really is a way to talk to yourself in a safe space because there's no judgment. It's just you and you. Third technique, grounding. Physical movement is a great way to ground. Walking barefoot, stretching, yoga, physical exercise that really reinforces stability, like Tai Chi. These are all very good ways to anchor scattered energy. Sensory exercises are also very good, like holding a stone in your arm, playing with it in your hand, feeling different textures, or holding on to something that feels soft, noticing smells or tastes that make you feel calm. If you're into essential oils, that's another thing that you can introduce that brings calm. Reconnecting your mind and your body can be made easier when you introduce the senses. Lastly, emotional labeling. It's really important if you want to have control over your emotions to be able to name them. We cannot manage that which we cannot name, and that which we ignore, and that which we want to pretend is not there. Sometimes simply naming the emotion moves us forward by leaps and bounds. As an example, I feel embarrassed. I feel embarrassed. Who's never felt embarrassed? We all know what that means, right? Unfortunately, sometimes when we're in our ego, instead of saying I feel embarrassed or I feel exposed, what we do is create drama to hide that feeling. And creating the drama feels good because it's intense and it makes us feel big and bad and bold, when in reality, what we feel is small. A good way to regulate emotions is to own them, okay? When you name them, you take away their power, and you also strengthen your ability to regulate them through your prefrontal cortex. So that was the sensory integration tools. Now moving on to our relationships. The Leo full moon is going to expose tension in our relationships between our personal desires and what our partners expect from us, or our friend group, or social circles. This is an opportunity to practice assertive and empathic relational skills. What I mean by that is, it's okay to take space, but you also want to make space for other people. It's not about being a pushover, and it's also not about being a bully. There's a middle ground here. Number one, projection awareness. Notice where you're reacting strongly to other people. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and being uncomfortable requires asking yourself difficult questions like, is this about them or is this about me? Am I reacting to my own fears of visibility or judgment? Or is this really about them? As an example, it's always interesting to me when people watch other people's social media and they're like, oh, I have secondhand embarrassment. That experience is so interesting because it's like, why is that embarrassing to you? Because you're not in the story. What is it about this that makes it embarrassing to you? And if you're embarrassed, but they're not embarrassed, why are you embarrassed? So this is what I mean. There are times when we project our own insecurities onto people and we're not even aware that we're doing it. The goal is to increase our awareness of times when we're expecting other people to hold an uncomfortable emotion that we're having for us. It's okay to say, I feel embarrassed. You don't need to say you have secondhand embarrassment because that person is not embarrassed, but you are. Moving on to assertive communication. Using I statements is a wonderful way to be assertive. As an example, in relationship, when trying to resolve an issue, you could say, I feel scared when you do not communicate, and I need consistent communication. Do you see that? I feel scared. I'm not projecting. I'm not saying you're trying to make me feel scared. I'm not saying you're being irresponsible. That all of that is projection because I don't know what's going on with you, but I know what's going on with me. So I'm saying I feel scared. So I'm owning my feelings. I'm naming them, and then I'm being very specific. When this happens, I feel scared, and then I offer a solution. I need this. It's clear. It's simple, and it does not put the other person on the defensive. Moving on to empathy practices. It's really important to pause before responding. Imagine the other person's perspective without minimizing your own feelings. What you want is a resolution. You don't want to be right. You want to fix it. And fixing it isn't about your ego. It's not about being right. It's about fostering mutual understanding. Everybody has their own brain. Everybody has their own background. Everybody has their own story priorities, their own boundaries, their own mindset. It's about maintaining mutual respect, even when we are disagreeing. Now, moving on to self-reflection. Here are some journal prompts for you. Number 1, where do I hide my light to avoid discomfort or criticism? Number 2, what repetitive emotional patterns are surfacing for me right now, and how can I consciously interrupt them? Number 3, which vulnerabilities do I resist, and how could embracing them empower my self-expression? And lastly, number 4, where am I conflating my self-worth with work, with performance, or external validation or approval? This level of inquiry turns a Leo full moon's intensity into actionable insight, allowing emotional intelligence to guide our choices consciously rather than just reacting out of habit. Now that we're done with our quadrant of emotionally intelligent interventions, let's wrap this up with some insights and action steps. This Leo full moon is calling for emotional maturity and decision making. It's important to use this heightened emotion to clarify our priorities. The full moon is going to illuminate for us what's real and what's fake. It's going to guide us towards making smarter and healthier decisions with regards to our boundaries. Some of the shadow aspects and vulnerabilities around this full moon are around our ego. Okay, the ego is afraid of being inadequate when it's at Leo. Facing these fears of inadequacy honestly allow for conscious integration, allowing us to turn our vulnerabilities into creative juice and into relational depth and into a personal sense of power. Because what makes us feel vulnerable is exactly what makes us feel unique, what makes us feel human, what makes us feel whole. This is about aligning our experience with our mindset. If you were to take me up on that breath work, that journaling, and those reflection prompts, as well as those relational interventions to ensure that our actions match our insights, you will recognize that you are blossoming on the inside. It's about avoiding intellectualizing problems without emotional engagement. We are all emotional beings. Some of us contain our emotions and some of us express our emotions openly. All of it is okay. The goal is to observe our triggers, learn from them, learn to regulate our emotions, practice expressing what we need in relationships without over-explaining or apologizing for having needs. And in doing so, we can build confidence in our relationships because everybody has needs and we're capable of expressing them in a way that is healthy for both parties. So identify one area where fear is limiting you from expressing yourself. Take a small, deliberate action in that area that affirms your courage. The more willful and the more you embrace being bold on purpose, the less fear will run your life. Fear never disappears if we don't confront it. It's about doing it scared. Schedule some reflective time alone to do things that make you feel grounded, whether that is journaling, meditation, or just a simple grounding exercise, one of the ones that I mentioned earlier. Being intentional about protecting time to reconnect with yourself shows heightened self-esteem, and it gives you an opportunity to process your emotions with confidence in private with yourself. Okay? Practice one relational interaction in partnership with clarity and empathy. Again, relationships are not about ego. They're not about winning. Rather, they're about preserving each other's self-esteem, preserving each other's egos. And we do that when we apply insight from our own emotional world to how we communicate, as opposed to projecting all of our negativity onto other people without any awareness. We definitely don't want to be those types of lovers or friends, okay? Nobody wants to be in community with somebody that projects all of their crap onto others and takes zero responsibility for any of it. We can be better than that. So that's a wrap on our deep dive into the Leo full moon on February 1st, 2026. Remember, full moons are not just about illumination. They're also about releasing what's no longer working and integrating what's actually useful. The intensity that you're going to feel under this Leo full moon isn't something you're going to be able to resist under the influences of the Aquarius stellium, okay? This is going to be a signal a guide, an opportunity. It's a lesson, okay? By leaning into awareness and practicing emotional regulation while embracing your humanity and your vulnerability with conscious choice, you can transform that fear that you're feeling into confidence. Every confident person that you know was once afraid of owning their powers. Projection can become understanding if you're willing to humble yourself. Intention can bring clarity if you're willing to speak honestly and with respect. This Leo full moon is asking you to step into your own leadership, your own spotlight, to face the fears that are making you not use your voice, to claim your throne, claim your personal power, and do it on purpose. Do it intentionally and be clear about your intentions, both for yourself and your community. Notice your emotions without reacting. Speak with honesty. Let chosen vulnerability deepen your sense of self-worth, strength, competence, and emotional intelligence. Because guess what? Vulnerability is power. So we're going to pause. We're going to breathe. We're going to journal. We're going to take one deliberate action that reflects that we're growing. Thanks for listening to the Aquarius podcast. May this Leo full moon leave you feeling more brave, emotionally intelligent, and more confident in your ability to express yourself honestly and authentically. I'll look forward to reconnecting with you on February 17th when we're having a new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius. Happy Leo full moon. You can book your astrology reading at intuitivehealing.com. You can also watch videos at Intuitive Healing here on YouTube for Astrology 101 content. Listen to the Aquarius podcast on Spotify, as well as here on YouTube for your horoscope. If you're interested in astrology and love connections, you can visit at Styled Under Libra. And of course, for health and wellness and holistic healing, visit at Styled Under Virgo for all of your astrology content. Thanks so much for watching.